All right, everybody, welcome back to another video, another week, fresh start. Today is Sunday, and on Sundays we read the Sefer Siach Sharfei Kodesh, which is a Breslov oral history tradition, written down, collected stories, all these different things. We've been reading the Sefer for the last 2-3 months already, maybe even 4 months. I don't even remember anymore. And last week we reached the middle of the Sefer and moved on to a new section of Rav Noson. We're learning sayings and stories now mostly about Rav Noson of Breslov, who was Rabbi Nachman's main student and one of the most important links in the chain of Breslov tradition, Messiah, straight from Rabbi Nachman himself. So, as we read a few of his pieces, we are going to say some more stuff. So let's just start and read. So one time they said to Rav Noson, some of the Chassidim were telling him that one time there was the chevra of the Baal Shem Tov went to be Menachem Avol, a certain person, and they started talking amongst themselves about Avodas Hashem, like they do also with this guy who was the Avol as well, until they forgot that they came to be Menachem Avol someone, and they started to even dance because they had such a slavos that they were talking about serving Hashem and all these things. And also also the Avol himself also forgot that he was an Avol, and he also started dancing. And when Rav Noson heard this, he said that also when you speak about Rabbeinu and his Torah and everything, it also could be like this, that you'll forget that you're going to be, that you're supposed to be sad or whatever, and that you'll be happy. So that's a good thing to know. Rav Noson said that I know that Rav Lipa was a chassid and had a lot of yiras Hashem, more than me. But now look at him, where he is and where I am. I think that he's referring to Rav Lipa was very close to Rabbeinu, but then he kind of left from being close to Rabbi Nachman. So Noson was saying that he was a very, very serious chassid, and he also had a lot of yiras Shemayim, but he didn't trust the Rebbe as much as I trust the Rebbe. So I think that's what he was saying. Rav Noson said, "Praiseworthy are the eyes that saw the eyes of Rabbi Nachman." And then he said, "Praiseworthy are the eyes that saw Rabbi Nachman." A different level, a lower level. And even if you see someone who just saw Rabbi Nachman, then that's already a big thing. And when they told this, when Rav Avin Bar Nachman said this, he finished off, it says, Shikein hu midar ladar. And this is for every single generation. Meaning that praiseworthy are the eyes who saw someone who saw someone who saw someone who saw someone who saw Rabbi Nachman. It's pretty crazy. When Rav Noson visited in the city of Kremenchuk, which was in the house, and he went to visit the house of Chaya. He visited Chaya, who was the daughter of Rabbi Nachman, who was married to the Rav HaTzadik, Rabbi Aaron, who they called Rabbi Arke, Nechdoi Shal Rav Balatanya, B'zivuga Hasheni. Right? She was married, I guess, before. Now, her second marriage was to a guy named Rabbi Arka, who was a grandson of the Balatanya. Dibor Sham Barucha and Bala Rabbi Arka. Rav Noson spoke to her husband Rabbi Arka for a very, very long time. Acher kach hiflig Rabbi Aaron b'malos shomar nat. Afterwards, Rabbi Arka, Rav Aaron, same guy, he was talking about how great Rav Noson was, and he says, Kol kisvei Ari, all the writings of the Arizal are like right next to him, like in the palm of his hand. Right? Like he knew everything. He was a big, big, big Talmud Chacham. One time Rav Noson came to visit in the city of Baflia, and while he was there, the Rabbanim of that city had a shaila in halacha about an aguna, and they were not able to solve it and figure out the answer. And Rabbi Matisyahu Leib Baflia said to the Rabbanim that they should ask Rav Noson. And they did, and Rav Noson answered the question, and he enlightened their eyes with his answer. one time they asked Rav Noson, somebody asked Rav Noson if they should call their son B'Shem Nachman, Al Shem Rabbi Nachman, Al Shem Rabbeinu, or on the name of somebody else from his mishpacha. Sheshmoi Hoya Isaac, that his name was Isaac. And Rav Noson says that he could call his son's name Isaac because also Rabbeinu called himself Isaac. Be'ez Shenasa L'Eretz Yisrael, at the time that Rabbi Nachman traveled to Eretz Yisrael, came a super b'sefer Shivchei Haran, like it's said, like it's told over, the whole entire story is told over there in the Sefer Shivchei Haran. And one time Rabbi Nachman said, "Umadu karasi latzim b'shem Isaac." And why do I call myself b'shem Isaac? V'lo siyam. He didn't finish, but we see that Rabbeinu also called himself the name of Isaac. So therefore, Rav Noson told the guy that he could call his son Isaac, because it's also b'chinas shem of Rabbi Nachman. When Rav Noson became old and he was very weak, he used to say the Seder of Shnai Mikra Ve'achar Targum on Friday before Chatzos, right? When he was still wearing talis and tefillin. One of the Chassidim said to him, right, this is not the way that the Arizal taught. Yal Pisoid, you have to say Shnai Mikra Ve'achar Targum after Chatzos, right? And Rav Noson said to him, not everything the Arizal said is possible to be Mekayim. Like loy esakol efshel l'kayim pi divrei Arizal. Sometimes you have to do it a little earlier, a little later. It's not, it's not the end of the world. Pam kishloi ba echad me'anash el mornat l'suda shisha shel Shabbos. One time, one of the Chassidim did not come to Rav Noson for the third meal on Shabbos, and Rav Noson asked about this, and they said to him, because of the chasna of his sister, right, he wasn't able to come. So Amalei Marnat, Rav Noson said to him, Achois Emor lechachma achois yat. I don't know what that means. A shvester, something to do with chachma. But yeah, that's interesting. The time of Rav Noson, when a person wanted to travel to the area of Poland, right? He needed a special document and a passport, but Rav Noson, B'leis Breira, one time went there with Rabbi Nachman of Tulchin without a passport and Rishon, right? Kiaz nahagu shoytrei agvul like as harabanim because the border control police officers there were not noig to check the big rebbes and all the different rabbis that passed by the border, if they had a passport or not. They would just ask them if they had a passport. When they said, of course, they had, so they didn't even check the papers. So when they asked Rav Nachman, im yesh lo passport, if you had a passport, he said, these days to travel without a passport, who would do such a thing? They were like, yeah, for sure. And then they just let him go across, but without even checking him. They didn't check Rav Noson either. Interesting story because Rav Noson one time said that he would never travel without a passport ever, because then you could break the law and doing like that. But I guess in this case it was in a certain situation that needed to be done. It says over here that Rav Noson had every single day a shiur and seder and saying Tehillim. He said each day one day of the Tehillim from the book. He would say even more tefillin during Shoivim and Sfiras Omer. Besides whatever he said for those days. I guess talks about saying Tehillim. They told over to Rav Noson that one time they asked the students of Rav Moshe Leib Sassover asked him, why did he become a sagi nahor when he became old, right? Hold on, I just want to understand what that means. Sagi nahor I thought sagi nahor means like big, but I guess means blind. I don't know, I guess they asked him why he became blind or whatever, and he said, because my wife, whenever she was kneading the dough in the challah, for Shabbos, she would say every single second the Kavod Shabbos, the Chvayt Shabbos, and she would do this for every single food in the house until every single time she said this, a new malach was created, and therefore my house became filled with malachim, and I became blind. And Rav Noson said, this is true. Taka azoy. Be'emes kach. Pretty crazy story, man. Okay, let's do one more. Torah mem chesha b'Likutei Moharan chelik aleph. The lesson in Likutei Moharan 48, number 48, was said on Isru Chag Sukkis Shnas Tovkuf Samach Gimel. Shana Rishayna L'Hiskarvus L'Marnat. The Hiskarvus Marnat. The first year that Marnat became close to Rabbi Nachman. V'sham b'Torah kol merumas ha'yisur mishavra Marnat ba'oiseis, and in that Torah is included and hinted all the different sufferings and all these things that Rav Noson was going through at that time. The Hainu Meinian Tfilas b'Koyach, that the people in his city were making fun of him davening and his family and all these things that he was davening b'Koychus and all these different things. That he also had a lot of problems at home, and also that his wife was miscarrying a lot, right? And at that time that Rabbeinu said this Torah, she was also pregnant, and Rabbeinu Upalo Rabbeinu L'Toivasu B'Rosh Chodesh Kislev Noilad Loi Ben Harishon Rabbi Shachna. And Rav Noson had his first child after becoming close to Rabbeinu in Kislev Acher Kach B'Shavos Parshas Noach Shalachrecha Nemer Torah Kuf Yud Beis. Okay, that wasn't after that. Okay, fine. So he said this Torah, and then on the Shabbos after Sukkot, on Isru Chag, and it talked about all different inyanim that happened to Rav Noson, and he was able to also be poiled that his wife would not miscarry, and he had a child on Rosh Chodesh Kislev, which was, his wife was pregnant at the time. She must have been 7 months pregnant, 9 months, whatever. Yeah, so that's all this stuff over there. Okay, cool. That's the stories for today. That's the inyanim for today. Everybody enjoyed. And we'll be back hopefully on Tuesday with some more good information.